Data refers to the large, diverse sets of information that grow at ever increasing rates, which are often collected while data mining and in multiple other formats. Big data can be collected from publicly shared comments on social networks and websites, voluntarily gathered from personal electronics and apps, through questionnaires, product purchases, and electronic check ins. The presence of sensors and other inputs in smart devices allows for data to be gathered across a broad spectrum of situations and circumstances. Just like how coal and oil were fuels that drove the Industrial Revolution, data, at present, serves a corresponding role for the Information Revolution. The problem of privacy and exploitation of private data arises when data is being used beyond the agreed terms. We can see a lot of scenarios where this takes place. When we use our GPS to understand routes, it benefits us till it uses our location to guide us through its map directions and give us traffic predictions. However, using this as a source to stalk every place we go, like how the iPhone emerged as a homecoming beacon since earlier, makes us wonder whether our data is being rightly used. A basic feature like a biometric scan, which is necessary for identification, can also be misused as a target for an inside initiative not primarily agreed by the user. Another very common example can be in lines of education. Basic personal data is essential for a student to enroll in schools, to personalize student instruction, to identify the risks of a student dropping out, and the school being accountable for performance. But when the same data is being used as a way to favorable admissions through discrimination, it becomes an unfair practice. Big data in the present times is most essential to detect fraud and ensure that the law is enforced, which in the end brings justice to the society. But if that space is taken as an advantage of ownership to access data in any manner, such as accessing data from a device without a warrant or identifying suspects by web browsing habits without permission, it makes us question our privacy. Big data, having the capacity to gather and process almost any amount of diverse and varied data, casts an advantage to social network profiles to understand and cull individuals' profiles and demographic information and extend to capture their like-minded networks. This essentially requires a fairly straightforward API integration that gathers every B2B marketer on Twitter. Let's understand the possibility of our data being everywhere. We start our day scrolling into social media like Instagram and Facebook. A tab can be a source of information vulnerable to be accessed by any provider. Every move makes them predict precisely what we would be looking into the very next minute. Despite the understanding that this has to do only with advertising or promoting our interests, does it really adhere to only the terms and conditions that we've agreed to? Movies like The Social Dilemma show the real functioning of social media, and it has the greatest impact and the scariest version of how our data is taken without our knowledge.
And so all of this data that we're just pouring out all the time is being fed into these systems that have almost no human supervision and that are making better and better and better and better predictions about what we're going to do and who we are.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's our data being sold. It's not in Facebook's business interest to give up the data. What do they do with that data? They build models that predict our actions, and whoever has the best model wins.
His scrolling speed is slowing, nearing the end of his average session length, decreasing ad load, pull back on friends and family.
On the other side of the screen, it's almost as if they have this avatar voodoo doll-like model of us.
All of the things we've ever done, all the clicks we've ever made, all the videos we've watched, all the likes, that all gets brought back into building a more and more accurate model. The model, once you have it, you can predict the kinds of things that person does.
Right. Let me just test.
Where you're going to go. I can predict what kind of videos will keep you watching. I can predict what kinds of emotions tend to trigger you.
Yes, perfect. The most epic fails of the year. Perfect, that worked. Following with another video? Beautiful. Let's squeeze in a sneaker ad before it starts.
At a lot of these technology companies, there's three main goals. There's the engagement goal to drive up your usage to keep you scrolling. There's the growth goal to keep you coming back and inviting as many friends and getting them to invite more friends. And then there's the advertising goal to make sure that as all that's happening, we're making as much money as possible from advertising. Each of these goals are powered by algorithms whose job is to figure out what to show you to keep those numbers going up.
Informed consent in data collection is a step on the way to ensuring the three pillars: accountability, the duty to justify an action and be answerable for its consequences; transparency, action should be done without secrecy and be subject to examination; and responsibility, which refers to the obligation to ensure that an action is performed properly. However, as with all advanced technologies, this comes with the potential for misuse. We as users don't realize ethical issues arising out of data and the challenge it imposes on our privacy. Ethical issues involving data may be more challenging than the ethical challenges of some other technologies, partly because data and data science are ubiquitous, having the potential to impact all aspects of life, and partly because of their intrinsic complexity. Furthermore, in considering ethical matters, we must consider both current and future uses of data. Progress in data science and technology is often described as a question of reaching a new status quo, as if once we've developed and implemented tools for handling the vast data sets and real-time issues, we can relax. The ubiquity of the impact of data technologies on all aspects of modern life means that those concerned with data and their use must engage with these ethical issues. We are seeing this forcefully at the time of writing with something of a backlash against the freedom of social media companies, which up till now have been relatively unconstrained in what they do and how they do it. A feud that has been taking place between the largest two market players for over a decade is an apt reference to this. Tim Cook has continuously been trying to protect the privacy of Apple's customers and has finally come up with the best update they could ever introduce: a warning with the details a website or an app would collect if we log into it, and a permission setting of whether the user is ready to share such information or not. This immediately disables the tracking feature or data collection after we click Do Not Allow. This essentially fed into a huge feud between Apple and Facebook, as Facebook earns 99% of its income only through advertisements. To Facebook, the upgrade of software developed by Apple would impact its revenue, as it would go against the freedom of Facebook being a source of information to many companies that advertise using our data through this platform, which have been procured without our consent. Another instance would be the feud between the UK and Google. The UK filed a complaint against Google for breaching the privacy of its citizens. Before Brexit, Google had faced allegations for going against the European Union privacy regulators and using their information for potential ads beyond their boundaries. Google did end up paying a huge fine and accepted to delete the content that is being used. However, when this was further cross-checked by a UK citizen outside the European Union boundaries, the posts which were deleted were all seen and accessible to the naked eye. Google took an unfair advantage of loopholes, indicating that the content would be available to the rest of the world except to the users within the boundaries, as agreed. And what now? The UK might even lose its data protection after it officially exits the European Union. This clearly shows that our data is easily available to our data providers and is used to their advantage despite what we expect from them. As a society, what do we need to have a safe space and allow big data to be a part of our lives? The most simple thing that can be done is to provide information on the data that is being collected and asked for permissions. A platform where grievances could be addressed and taken care by providing the required compensation is very essential. The fight for privacy and ethical use of data has been never ending and has become very important lately due to the large scale digitalization of our world. Data is important for every business to survive, but consent and the details of the data collected have to be mentioned in a crystal clear and precise manner so that the parties involved are aware of their rights and know what exactly they are signing up for. The ending is a question in the form of what is ethical and what isn't. Unless and until there are stringent laws on data collection, it is going to continue to be a fight.